RS3 is definitely a great car just as it is in its stock form, but there's definitely a few areas where it lacks. We've already started to address some of those areas in the last few videos, but today we're going to start improving the way it sounds, because this thing is quiet. So we will be installing this massive JDY air intake today, and if you stick around for the next few videos, we'll also be working on the exhaust. To pair with the intake, we'll also be installing this carbon fiber Eventuri turbo elbow. When you order these intakes, they do have a few color options, and we chose to go with the gold titanium. Personally, I think we chose the perfect combo from the carbon elbow, gold titanium to the red filter. Now before you remove the stock airbox, we're moving this air temp sensor out of the way.
Just going to tuck this to the side. Good.
As you just saw, there was a few clamps, some screws and a pipe to disconnect, and the airbox can come straight out. Now you can remove this mount, more clamps, this bolt connecting this mounting point, this sensor, and the rest of it is now out.
So we removed the factory PCV hose that ran to the intake, and this new piece will replace that. So that goes onto the ball valve, and then this one here connects to there. It's a lot tidier so it doesn't run across the motor, sort of hides it a bit, and yeah, looks pretty flash. Righto, so we've removed the factory wastegate line which runs over the elbow and across pretty much the entire length of the motor. We've just replaced pulled half of it off, and it will be replaced by this vacuum hose that came with the kit. Just as the bigger elbow doesn't have the room for this to go over it, so they've supplied this, and it'll look a bit neater anyway, so we'll run that.
Now the trickiest part of this install is removing the two bolts at the lower side of the elbow. This is why we removed the fender liner to see if we can access them better from there. We managed to reach them, but it proved to be an absolute mission to get them out.
We've just spent probably the half an hour to an hour trying to get this off. There's two bolts on the compressor housing of the turbo, which the far inside one was pretty easy, but the other one was a mission. It was probably a two-man job, but there are easier ways to do it, but we didn't take the hot side intercooler pipe off. It's off anyway now, so that's all done. We also replaced this hose that runs from the elbow to the motor with a new silicone one that runs across here and there, which will plug into the new carbon piece as well. And now we're gonna install the adapter for the new carbon elbow, which is gonna be a lot easier. And yeah, lovely.
I'm just quickly interrupting today's video because I wanted to remind you guys that if you're enjoying the video so far, then please hit the thumbs up down below, and also subscribe because we've got big plans for the car, and in 2025 we'll be posting a lot more, and the support really does go a long way. It was really hard to get a shot of it, but as you can see, the adapter piece is now installed. Now that we've attached the turbo flange, the next step is to attach the rest of it. So we've got obviously the carbon turbo elbow, we've got this rubber silicone joint and a V-band. So yeah, we'll just throw that in. We won't fully tighten it up yet until everything's all fixed in place, but let's get it in. How good does that look? Now that the intake is in, we have to add the bolt to the mounting point, attach all these hoses and clamps, and just put everything back together. been a week or so now since we finished installing the air intake. So I've already heard how it sounds, but don't worry, I'm about to show you guys how it sounds shortly. But first, there's a small thing that we have to have a look at. As you can see, we are getting a bit of impact from the air intake and the bonnet, which isn't ideal. When we first installed it, we didn't think that it was rubbing. And I don't think it rubs when you close the bonnet. I think it's when the car is on the load and the motor kind of moves a little bit, that's when it's vibrating against it. So unfortunately we have scratched the intake. I'm not sure if there's a way to repair it or get rid of that mark. So if any of you guys do know any methods or someone local to the Brisbane area in Australia, then let me know, because I'd definitely be interested to try and get rid of that if it's possible. But anyway, to fix this issue for now, what we are gonna do is just down here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bolt where the mount is. What we plan on doing is undoing that bolt, and then you can see where the next hole is for the bolt. But if we put it in that position, then the intake's probably gonna be sitting a little bit too low. So what we need to do is drill a new hole on the mount somewhere in the middle between the two positions it currently offers, and hopefully that will still get clearance under here. Won't be sitting too low here, but it'll be sitting low enough up the top that it will no longer be rubbing against the hood. And I'm not going to bore you guys by doing that on camera, so I'll do that afterwards, and I'll film it all and chuck a few bits of footage on the screen for you so you can see that. But other than that, it all looks great and it definitely sounds pretty good. I think it's time to start the car and show you guys how it sounds. So when the car's idling, you can't really hear it, but I'll jump in the car and give it a few revs so that you guys can hear how it sounds. Keep in mind, there is a soft limiter on these new Audis, so we can only go to around 4,000 RPM, and it literally won't let us go any further. So I don't know if we will be able to hear how it sounds until we get it under load and get some shots going around the block just after this. So as you can tell, we can't really hear the difference of how it sounds from just revving it. So we will take it around the block and show you guys. But firstly, I found out a little trick or a little hack from a TikTok video. And I wanted to quickly show you guys and see if you'd already seen it or not. And if not, then now you know a new trick as well. If you're an RS3 owner, you probably already know that if you put the car in performance before you start it up, it will start with the valves open and the car will rev a little bit as you start it up. But one thing I found out is that if you press the RS button twice, put into performance like you normally would, and as you press the start button, give the car a little bit of an extra rev on that start up to about that 3,000 RPM mark. And I'm not sure if that's bad for the car or damaging it in any way, I hope not, but you get a few pops which you don't normally get. And so I'll quickly show you guys how that sounds. So this is how it normally sounds when you start it up in performance. Which sounds okay, but if we chuck it in performance and we give it a few extra revs, this is what it sounds like. So that sounds a whole lot better. I'm quickly setting up the camera outside the car so I can do a few more startups, because it pops differently every time you do it, but that way hopefully you can hear it a little bit better. So as you can tell, that is a pretty cool little hack if you hadn't seen that before. Well, now you know how to do it, and if that is damaging my car or my motor anyway, please let me know, because I should probably stop doing it. But anyway, it's time to get the car out and show you guys how it's sounding with the new intake.
Keep the camera still. I could not.
I'm going to close the sunroof because I don't know if you can really hear it with all the wind at the moment. So we'll see if this makes a difference. of course, we got to quickly do one launch control. So I don't know if you can tell through the camera, but it definitely sounds a whole lot louder than the stock one. Yeah, you almost couldn't really hear the stock one at all from inside the cab, but if you're outside the car, you could definitely hear it when you're doing a flyby. But now you can hear it much louder from inside the cab, and I want to show you guys what it sounds like doing a flyby. So we'll do that now. So as you can tell, the car sounds a whole lot better now that the air intake is installed, but we are still missing the exhaust. But don't worry, because that is coming very soon. Unfortunately, that does bring us to the end of today's video, but if you did enjoy the video, please leave a thumbs up down below and definitely subscribe so that you can keep up to date when the next video drops, because the exhaust will not be far away and you definitely don't want to miss that one. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.